They're saying somebody's shooting in the auditorium. There's hundreds of people just running around.
He just kept shooting anybody and everybody.
Tonight, the biggest mass shooting in U.S. history.
There was children that he was shooting. There was moms that he was shooting.
A gunman opens fire at a crowded Colorado movie theater.
He was wearing a ballistic helmet, a tactical ballistic vest.
More than 70 people were shot, leaving a city in shock.
We have to embrace them and let them know we will be there for them as a nation.
Police searched the suspect's booby-trapped apartment for evidence of a crime beyond comprehension.
I don't ever want to see something like that again.
This is the CBS Evening News with Scott Pelley, reporting tonight from Aurora, Colorado.
Good evening. The theater behind me was packed early this morning with people who had come to experience a big screen fantasy. But it was soon interrupted by a real-life plot so diabolical that few could have imagined it. Just a short time ago, authorities began removing the bodies of those killed in the massacre as the investigation continues. People have been coming here all day, waiting for word of their loved ones. Some of these images were captured by the Denver Post. Here's what we know. 71 people were shot at the midnight premiere of the new Batman movie. At least 12 are dead. Many of the wounded are in critical condition this evening. 24-year-old James Egan Holmes is under arrest. The police say that he booby-trapped his apartment before heading to the theater to carry out the attack. We have a team of correspondents covering this rapidly developing story, including the biggest mystery of all, the motive. First, we'll turn to correspondent Barry Peters. Barry,
well, Scott,
what do you know?
You know, for theater goers, this really started as a very special night for the many fans of Batman movies. The suspect bought a ticket for the 12:05 a.m. special premiere. Law enforcement sources tell us Holmes dyed his hair like Batman's foe, the Joker.
I was in the second row. Shortly
after the movie began, Corbin Dates saw someone get up and leave through an emergency exit.
I noticed a guy who's sitting to the far right has a phone call. He steps out to the emergency exit, which is unusual.
Parked outside the door was Holmes' car, inside an arsenal. He put on a helmet, bulletproof vest, leg protection, and armed himself.
An AR-15 assault rifle, a Remington H-70 shotgun, 12-gauge shotgun, and a .40 caliber Glock handgun.
Aurora Police Chief Dan Oates.
I imagine I will be asked how many rounds were fired. My answer is we have no capability right now of calculating that number. There were many, many rounds fired.
At roughly 12:30, the suspect re-entered Theater 9 through the emergency exit door to the right of the movie screen. He lobbed one or two canisters that exploded in the audience and emitted smoke or gas.
The door swings right open, the emergency exit door. Somebody walks in dressed all in black, helmet, gas mask, black outfit, you cannot see anything.
Many in the theater were confused. They thought the smoke and shooting was part of the movie.
The thing that flew across the room, like it exploded, make a really loud boom sound.
Julia Wynn and her friend Aaron Post say the suspect said nothing as he randomly fired shots into the crowd.
How would you describe his attitude as he was doing
this? Like calm, like if he just went in and opened fire, like yeah, exactly, like if he knew what he was doing, like if he'd pre-planned it.
Jennifer Seeger was near the gunman.
And he points the gun right at my face. He's about 3 feet away from me with a gun in my face. At that point, I was just in a panic.
3:15 and 3:14 for a shooting at Century Theaters.
At 12:39, 911 was flooded with calls.
They're saying somebody's shooting in the auditorium.
As hundreds of people flee for their lives.
They're saying there's hundreds of people just running around.
One of the shots went through the wall into the next theater, wounding at least one person.
Get us some damn gas masks for Theater 9. We can't get in it.
The first police arrived within 90 seconds.
I got people running out of the theater. They're shot.
There were so many wounded that police loaded some into squad cars and rushed them to one of 6 different hospitals.
It was scary. A young girl just with bullet wounds in her leg and blood just all over her is just... I don't ever want to see something like that again.
James Roars escaped with his children, including a 3-month-old, as he saw others fall.
She got shot when she got shot. It's just God watching over us.
I need a marked car behind the theater. Got a suspect in a gas mask.
Police spotted Holmes behind the theater, sitting in his white Hyundai. He surrendered without a fight.
Okay, hold that position. Hold your suspect.
People who lived through this know a lot more tonight about what happened, but Scott, because the shooter never said anything, they have no idea why.
Barry, thank you. The police are telling us at this hour that Holmes had more to his plot than the attack on the theater. His apartment building, about 4 miles from here, has been evacuated. John Miller is in New York talking to his sources, and he has that part of the story. John?
Well, Scott, according to police sources, the same suspect who would not tell police what the motive was for the shooting did tell them if they went to his apartment they might find explosives. He didn't mention it was a trap. After arresting James Holmes, police went to his residence, but they moved cautiously, and that may have saved lives. Standing on top of an armored vehicle, a SWAT team member held a camera at the end of a pole. He saw a sophisticated booby trap, set to kill anyone coming through the front door.
They appear to be incendiary devices. There's some chemical elements there, and they're linked together with all kinds of wires.
Investigators now believe Holmes used a timer to set off loud techno music at the apartment just before midnight. It was meant to spur a noise complaint to police, a ruse that would have drawn police to the apartment building, detonating a firebomb, and then pulling all available police and rescue units to the other side of town before the shooting at the theater started. That would have allowed him more time to kill more people and left a much smaller police response to the theater shootings. Former FBI profiler Mary Ellen O'Toole.
This is someone who was engaged in very predatory, thought-provoking, very well planned out behavior.
All that planning, all that thinking about how to kill, and all those questions, and police say the suspect isn't talking.
Based on his behavior and based on the planning that went into it, that he very likely is sitting back enjoying the impact of the crime. And that really is pretty unnerving when you think about that.
Police, Arapahoe County, and FBI bomb technicians are still trying to figure out how to safely disarm that device. It's a large firebomb, but so far they're stymied. They are talking about the possibility of setting it off on purpose and having the fire department, which is standing by, extinguish the blaze. Only after that can they go into the apartment and search for evidence.
John, thanks very much. In Washington, Justice Correspondent Bob Orr has been talking to his sources to learn more about the gunman and his weapons. Bob, the police are telling us that they think Holmes acted alone.
Yes, Scott, law enforcement sources tell us that suspect James Holmes seems to be a classic lone wolf, an accused mass killer with no apparent accomplices or known connections to radical groups. In fact, prior to his arrest outside the theater overnight, Holmes' only brush with Colorado police involved a single speeding ticket. James Holmes was completely under the radar. Yet sources say over the past few months, he assembled a deadly arsenal, multiple guns, body armor, bottles of chemicals, and homemade explosive devices. Sources say 4 weapons found at the crime scene were all legally purchased between May 22nd and July 6th at 3 Colorado gun stores, a Bass Pro Shop in Denver, and Gander Mountain stores in Aurora and Thornton. 3 of the guns, police say, were used in the deadly spree. A .40 caliber Glock pistol and a Smith & Wesson semi-automatic assault rifle, both of which can be fitted with extended clips. A 12-gauge Remington shotgun was also used. The 4th gun, another .40 caliber Glock, was recovered in Holmes's car. Evidence teams are still processing the crime scene, but with 71 victims hit by gunfire, law enforcement officials suspect the gunman fired at least 100 rounds, maybe more. Police say Holmes meticulously planned the assault. He apparently surveilled the theater and pre-staged his car and weapons near an access door. Outside that door today, police recovered some of the body armor which the gunman wore during the assault. Holmes has no criminal record, and police say so far they've established no motive for the shootings. A search of social networking sites has turned up no significant clues. Now, sources tell us that at first Holmes was cooperative with police, but since then he's clammed up and has gotten a lawyer. So far, he's offered no explanation whatsoever, Scott, for the shootings.
Bob, thanks. James Egan Holmes has roots in Southern California, so we sent Bill Whitaker to San Diego to find out more about him.
24-year-old James Holmes left different impressions on people he encountered in life. At the University of California, Riverside, where he graduated with honors in neuroscience in 2010, he's remembered as brilliant. Tim White is university chancellor.
He was an honor student, so academically he was at the top of the top. He really distinguished himself from an academic point of view during his 4 years with us.
Back in the northern suburbs of San Diego, friends came and went from his family home all day. His father, surrounded by police, left for Denver early this morning. Julie Adams lives around the corner. Her son played soccer with James.
People come here because of the school district, so it's very, lots of kids, lots and lots of kids because of that. And obviously, his parents wanted to give him the best, and that's why they live here.
In high school, he won a competitive position at a rigorous science boot camp and an internship in neurobiology at the prestigious Salk Institute. Tom Mai and his family lived next door to the Holmeses for a decade.
He seemed to be a very nice, young, typical American boy.
I'm actually kind of shocked that it happened. Like, he doesn't seem like that type of person, and he doesn't seem like he would have the guts to actually do something like that.
But 16-year-old Anthony Mai says he was shy to the point of being a loner.
As much as he was, always smiling when I was around, he was, the fact that he was quiet and, something just looked kind of weird. It's just a feeling in my gut that I had that something was going on, but I wasn't sure.
Neighbors say Holmes seemed frustrated when he returned home with his degree in neurobiology, and the only job he could get was at McDonald's. The smart loner applied and was admitted to the graduate school at the University of Colorado, and Scott, he dropped out in June.
Bill, thank you. The University of Colorado Hospital here received about a third of the victims in a rush of ambulances, police cars, and private vehicles. Earlier today, I spoke with Dr. Camilla Sasson, who helped lead the team in the emergency room.
At 1 o'clock, we were alerted that there had been a shooting that had occurred close to the hospital. And so right away, we had heard that there would be multiple gunshot victims, and so we put our disaster plan into place. And then really at 1:15, so just 15 minutes later, patients started pouring in through the doors.
What did it look like, sound like, feel like in that moment?
I've never been in war, but I know that some of the folks who were on the scene actually had said they had done tours in Iraq. It had felt similar to that in that same setting of just having bodies everywhere, blood, patients who were screaming. It was, again, something that I think I'll probably relive almost every day of my life, as well as my colleagues. But, I think at the end of the day, it was just, you have to sort of drown out that noise and just really think about taking care of the patients and, what does this patient need right now to make sure that we can keep him alive, him or her alive, to make sure that they get to the operating room and can see their families.
Could you tell anything by the wounds themselves what had happened to these people?
There were some shrapnel injuries and then quite a few gunshot wounds, anywhere from the head, chest, abdomen, pelvis. Like I said, I've seen a lot of gunshot wounds before, and just the number of people and how sick they were, I think, really just is horrific.
How do you process that? How do you come to grips with that?
At the end of the day, right now all we've done is take care of patients, and that's my job. At the end, that's what I'm trained for years and years to do, is to take care of patients. I think it's just finally starting to hit me the gravity of what just happened and just the horrible, horrible injuries. And again, my heart goes out to all victims and their families.
The youngest victim that she saw last night was 3 months old, but that baby was treated and released. It is an irony in this case that the alleged killer, James Holmes, was a student on the same University of Colorado medical campus where his victims were treated. The police evacuated 2 large classroom buildings earlier today on the campus to search for possible explosives, but none were found. The shooting here has led to changes at theaters all around the country, and we'll have that story when the CBS Evening News continues from Aurora, Colorado. While the shooting happened here in Aurora, Colorado, there was a feeling all across the country that it could have happened anywhere. And with the new Batman movie playing on 4,400 screens nationwide, tonight, Anthony Mason tells us security has been beefed up in this country and beyond.
In Paris, where The Dark Knight Rises was due to open today, the premiere was postponed. Warner Brothers and the filmmakers said they were deeply saddened by the shooting in Colorado. The gunman didn't choose just any movie. The late-night Batman screening was a national event.
How big have midnight premieres become?
Huge. I mean,
Aaron Carlson of The Hollywood Reporter says the Batman film took in more than $30 million.
movies are where you go to escape your life. You don't expect something like this to happen. And when it does, you think twice about your own safety.
Yeah, it's depressing because now it's just yet another place that's being ticked off that you can't be safe going to. Schools, movie theaters, it's everywhere now.
I started thinking like, should I bring a vest? I mean, I was kind of like, obviously not very serious, but I was just like, it kind of freaked me out.
AMC, the nation's second largest theater chain, said today it was banning all masks and threatening costumes. In major cities like Los Angeles and New York, police increased patrols at theaters. New York put 2 officers at most Batman screenings. Chief Ray Kelly.
We're doing that to address the potential of a copycat event and to reassure moviegoers, particularly parents.
In theaters, the violence used to be all up on the screen. The horror that happened in Colorado was only supposed to happen in the movies. Anthony Mason, CBS News, New York.
President Obama and Mitt Romney reflect on the tragedy here in Aurora when we come back. President Obama has ordered American flags lowered to half-staff at all federal buildings in honor of those killed in the shooting here in Aurora. Both the president and his Republican challenger, Mitt Romney, cut short their campaigning today and spoke about the tragedy.
If there's anything to take away from this tragedy, it's the reminder that life is very fragile. Our time here is limited and it is precious.
There will be justice for those responsible, but that's another matter for another day. Today is a moment to grieve and to remember, to reach out and to help, to appreciate our blessings in life.
One of those killed in the massacre had a brush with death just a few weeks ago. Her remarkable story is next. It's still early in the investigation of this shooting. We still don't know the names of most of those who were killed. John Blackstone tells us about one of the victims. At 24 years old, her life was really only just beginning.
She was known as Jessica Redfield, an aspiring broadcaster. Sports writer Adrian Dater met her first in the press box at a hockey game.
She was funny, vivacious. She was very, very funny, very intelligent. I mean, you knew something was there, you know. You knew there was a spark in her that she was going to be something someday.
She had some dreams.
She had a lot of dreams. She was going to do fine, and that's what's just, it hurt so much that she was, you know, never got to see that.
Move it back a bit, guys! Just a month ago, she narrowly escaped being killed in another mass shooting at a shopping mall in Toronto, Canada. Right after the shock, she wrote this in her blog. I was shown how fragile life was. I saw the terror on bystanders' faces. I saw the victims of a senseless crime. And now I truly understand how blessed I am for each second I am given. Born Jessica Gawi from Texas, her brother Jordan wants people to remember that name.
And I don't want that gunman's name spoken. I want that to be the name that they remember. It's a Jessica Gawi or another victim's name, and remember what they stood for and what their life meant.
She wrote a blog about hockey in Denver and interned at a radio station. She got a lot of attention on YouTube when an interview on the ice went wrong.
There we go. Or not.
Jessica was always sending text messages, and on Twitter last night, she joked about dragging friends to a midnight show and lamented about waiting 20 minutes more for the show to start. It was the last 20 minutes of her life. Her boyfriend remembered her on Twitter like this: 140 characters could never do you justice, nor could all the words in this world. Never wanted to fall asleep because it meant missing time with you. John Blackstone, CBS News, Aurora, Colorado.
And that is the CBS Evening News for tonight. We will be back with the very latest on the shooting on a special CBS News program tonight at 8, 7 Central Time. For all of us at CBS News all around the world, I'm Scott Pelley in Aurora, Colorado. I'll see you soon.